Hi, welcome to Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey. I'm going to do a quick, I'm just going to say shit for the sake of saying shit. In the news today, and in the news for a while, Dave Chappelle has made comments about the transgender community. And Patton Oswalt, if you're not familiar, these are two comedians. They've done stand-up, they've done movies, TV shows. Dave Chappelle had the Chappelle Show, which was very popular in the early 2000s. Patton Oswalt has done an array of stuff. They both got just a mountain of a body of work over decades, and they've known each other, according to Patton Oswalt, when he put up on the internet, about 34 years. Long time, since they were teenagers and coming up in the world of stand-up. And so they've had a long friendship. This is the first time hearing about it. I don't doubt it. But Dave Chappelle asked Patton Oswalt, an old buddy of 30 years, to come do some stand-up as part of this Chappelle and Friends show thing. He was doing, and Patton Oswalt did. And in recent months, in the last couple of years or something, or maybe longer, I don't know, Dave Chappelle has made comments that has upset the transgender community. And so, and Patton Oswalt is a very, 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 very liberal person. He's like liberalism personified. Um, very much an ally of the trans community, gay community, people of color, and so on. And that's like a long established thing. This is not something he did a reversal for his career. You could go way back. And he's got a well established track record of being a very liberal person. And so, the transgender community is upset that Patton Oswalt would do some stand up for his old buddy because his old buddy Dave Chappelle has said some things that has irked them. The problem I have is, like anybody my age, I'm turning 40 in May, and I remember Chappelle going way back to the early mid '90s when he was in small roles in movies and stuff, and he got huge, astronomically huge, in the early 2000s. He was doing well, but there was some stumblings and false starts and getting his career back up and going and stuff. But by the early 2000s with Chappelle Show, he was on the top of the hill. I mean, he's huge. There was no one else bigger than Chappelle. And that 2000, called 2008 period of time, he was huge. And then he famously turned down a $50 million contract to keep Chappelle Show going and kind of disappeared for a while and has recently reemerged and is doing well. But the problem is, in that period of time, after Chappelle Show, he kind of lost me. My politics went this way, his politics went that way. Like a lot of people, I'm sure. And so I haven't been following his stand-up for a good 10 years. I caught some the other day because people are making a big deal about it. I don't know what he has said. I haven't seen someone in the LGBTQ community or trans community say this is what he said. Here's the transcript, and this is specifically what I'm upset about. Or this one over the years. It's been broad. It's like we're upset about some of his statements. I'm like, okay, well, what exactly did he say? And then you hear this all the time. It's like, this has real world consequences. This stand-up comedian said things that are funny, and this is gonna hurt the trans community. It's like, how so? Like I'm gonna go attack somebody who's trans because I heard some stand-up. Like, it's not, and the problem is it's not impossible because insane people have insane reactions to things. Not familiar with what I'm talking about? Look up the guy who shot John Lennon and his rationale for why he murdered John Lennon. That dude, Mark David Chapman, he was nuts. So he heard Beatles music and decided to murder John Lennon. Insane people do insane things. So, but you can't get away from that. You could go out there and do a stand-up. There could be a guy who watches Jim Frippen Gaffigan, the most inoffensive person ever born. And that dude could go murder somebody. Why? Because they're cray-cray. A sane person isn't going to watch Dave Chappelle stand up and go commit violence. It's like the inverse of that. Dave Chappelle goes up there and makes people laugh, and you go, oh, I was ready to kill a guy, but I was laughing so hard. I'm going home. I'm going to smoke a bowl, eat some snacks, and be great. So I don't know the specifics. So I can't really comment on Dave Chappelle and what he's done to then look at the opposite side of that and go, so Patton Oswalt, the aforementioned, great comedian, penned a letter to the public, I suppose, that explained why. He's like, I've known this guy 34 years. And I'm paraphrasing like crazy. He's like, I'm not perfect. I had to grow. I had to evolve. I did things that I wouldn't, in the past I wouldn't know. And Dave Chappelle is still an evolving guy. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that whatever flaw he has in his relationship with the trans community, that someday he will evolve and grow out of that. I can see some of the duplicity there because Patton Oswalt has been, he's been very critical of the Trump administration. He's not going to say, well, Donald Trump is still evolving. Donald Trump is, someday Donald Trump will get there. But he'll say that for Dave Chappelle. So there is a hypocrisy and a duplicity to this. And then it then begs the question, do you have to have, here's your position and it's ardent and hardened and here's the framework by which you can have an established position for all people? Or do you go person by person and go, I've known Dave for 34 years. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. And I disagree with him on this. But I'm going to be patient because I think he's going to end up in the right place ultimately. But then fuck Donald Trump in the bowl. Here's the thing. I have the answers. I don't know. I don't follow Chappelle enough to know. So part of, is it acceptable for Patton Oswalt to still support Dave Chappelle by showing up to a stand-up event and doing stand-up? What did he say? So he's like, the trans community's goofy. But if he's like, kill people, that's different. So what did he say? And I don't know. So I don't know what weight to come, do I agree, disagree with Patton Oswalt and how to feel about that. Frankly, it's a bunch of guys doing stand-up. So Andrew Dice Clay, if you're not familiar, way back in the 80s, he was huge. A stand-up comedian, ended up being in a bunch of movies as well. And he had he epitomized offensive content. If you thought he was Rodney Dangerfield or somebody else, it was Clay. Andrew Dice Clay was the king of the hill. He was the throne commander of offensive content. Like that's all the other offensive comedians were like Andrew Dice Clay, be their name. So, but it's stand up. And this is something where there's like an autism, there's an Asperger's to liberalism, where even like it's stand up comedy. Like, let shit slide, man. You don't like what the guy has to say, don't show up to his show. And normal people understand that. Liberalism doesn't get that. You offended me with your comments, sir. Therefore, you must go to the gas chambers. Liberalism. Your career must be ended. We must cancel you because you said something that I didn't like. And more often than not, it's not that it was a horrible thing the guy said. It's that you didn't get the joke. The failing, more often than not, in my experience, has been on liberals to understand the point. So it's kind of like, he said. And then everybody else is like, no, you didn't get the joke. You missed the point. That's your failing, liberalism. So, I can't come down too hard because I don't know what it is they're pointing at that I'm supposed to be upset about in regards to Dave Chappelle. But I don't care. I'm not going to go seek further at Chappelle. So it's like, Dave Chappelle, oh, great. Who the fuck are you? So I'll defend Dave Chappelle and that he's David fucking Chappelle with 30 years experience of being hilarious and a huge following and mass amounts of success. And then you're some twat on Twitter and he has to quit his career because you're upset. Go fuck yourself. So who are liberals? Who died and made liberals the arbiters of what you can and can't say? And it's hilarious when it comes down on Patton Oswalt, who I had the least amount of umbrage with ever. He's Patton Oswalt. I can't get upset, but he's a very liberal guy. He's pushed the narrative. He's pushed the agenda, and now it just landed on his ass. And so it's kind of hysterical. It's like, you were part of this and you just got egg on your face. Bah. Liberalism, it's a madness. It's a chaos. It's a disease. It's a mental disorder. This woke SJW style liberalism is a mental disorder. It's a legit go get help. But that's what's going to happen. You create this Frankenstein. It's going to come around town and trash your, You're like, Frankenstein's ripping up Donald Trump's play. And then Frankenstein comes to your house, and now your furniture's trashed. Nice job, dipshit. Nice job. And that's what just happened to Patton Oswalt. Because he has a friend, and he was defending his friend, and I'm going to do the stand-up to help out my buddy, because the other guy called off as well. And now Patton Oswalt's got to sit there and deal with the liberal Frankenstein monster. And it's hysterical. Oh my God, it's his best work. It's great. But I just, liberals need to get the fuck over themselves, is what it boils down to. That at the end of the day, you're sitting there, as a trans person, I get to tell the whole world what they can and can't say, and what jokes they can and can't laugh at. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. So I'm sitting here on the sideline, munching my popcorn. And over here is Team Oswalt. Over here is Team Chappelle. Over here is Team LGBT liberalism and all that stuff. And they're all assholes. I think it's fucking hysterical. But I don't hate anybody for it, except for the liberals who are trying to censor everybody. It's like, why do you get to do that? Because you say so? Go fuck off. Go to fuck off and don't come back until you think about what you did. Liberal, it's just stupid. And so that's like maybe 15% of the population in this country. Why are we bowing to these cheese dicks? So the next time a liberal comes up and goes, I am offended by the... Just punch the fucking shit out of him. Remember the thing about punch a Nazi? Punch a communist. Just punch a communist right in the face. Don't hospitalize them. Don't hurt them. But that's what it is. It's a bunch of pussies who've been spoiled their whole lives, and because of their position, whatever, gay, trans, black, Hispanic, whatever you got, female, nobody can hit them. Bill Burr nailed this point. The epic philosopher Bill Burr, he was like, why do women behave like they do? And this is what this is. Because you can't hit them, and they know that. So the trans people know that, so they can be like, Patton Oswalt can't have a career anymore. Bam! Right in the mouth. And then they stop doing that shit. It's called infantilism. Spank them. And then we don't have to deal with this shit anymore. So the 85% of society needs to give the 15% of society a spanking. Not legit hurt them. Just a whap on the ass cheeks. Send them on their way. Something. Throw vegetables at them. And then they'll be on the humble, and the infantilism goes away, and the world doesn't have to deal with this shit anymore. We can go back to have funny fucking comedians, excellent musicians, movies that are entertaining, and a world that isn't run by the fucking barter bar brigade. So that's my 15 cents. I don't give a fuck about any of them. Should someone do this? Should someone do that? Hey, maybe the woke crowd should shut the fuck up. That's what I think. Cheers.